Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine. Owner Steve Sloan once told me that he's not interested in selling people boats. And I just kind of looked at him for a second. And he said he wants to sell them the right boat for them. Meaning, if you buy a boat that doesn't fit your family's needs, if you think you want a boat that's just for you and the family isn't going to use it, or you do something with the family and you can't use it, it's not what you want, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to get more boats. That's why they spend extra time with you to help you find the right boat for you, and they have the biggest selection in East Tennessee. Special people, madmarine.com, Madisonville Marine on Highway 411 North in Madisonville. No better place to buy a boat. All right, guys. Trey Smith has done a little bit of work against actual living human beings this week. Now, let me just preface this by saying it's a great story. Everyone here hopes he comes back. I certainly hope the kid comes back. It's a terrible situation that twice he's been stopped due to blood clots. But, and I'll start with you, Josh, on this question. I don't think anyone should be getting their hopes up about him making a realistic, long-term impact on the team this year. Look at that as icing or gravy.
Yeah, from a team standpoint, I would totally agree. He was definitely doing more work this week than we saw in the first 2 weeks where we didn't see him do anything other than being present and being a vocal leader for his teammates, which I think actually provides some value. And to last segment's conversation about the offensive line, it would be much better if Trey were a part of it. I think everybody agrees with that. But right now, I don't think there should be any expectation that he plays football. He was doing more this week, but that's individual light contact stuff, nothing team-wise yet.
Ryan Callahan, Aubrey Solomon from Michigan transferring in, D'Angelo Gibbs from Georgia transferring in. I know you guys covered Jeremy Pruitt talking about it this week, and he was his usual open book. What's the latest on the availability of those guys this fall?
Yeah, really nothing to report because of the way Jeremy Pruitt sort of answered or didn't answer that question. It sounds like, he was even vague on whether Tennessee already has filed the waiver to get those guys eligible right away. I think clearly there's more optimism because you've seen guys like Tate Martell and Justin Fields go elsewhere and have their cases approved to where they can play this year. So I think Tennessee feels good about them. Solomon, there's always been a little more optimism on him than Gibbs. Now I think there's a real chance both are eligible, but we'll see. And that's obviously a big deal, especially with Aubrey Solomon. Tennessee needs that immediate help on the defensive line if they can get him eligible.
There are some things I understand where a coach is vague, where a coach doesn't want to give you any information. He doesn't want to. There are other things where it's like, how does this benefit you? I'm going to be kind of gray on whether or not we've even filed the paperwork. What does that benefit? Anyway, let's talk about a coach that you have been able to talk to. Jim Chaney, his return to Tennessee from Georgia. Early returns on that, David.
I think certainly he's made an impact. I think when you're on the practice field, you hear him. He's pretty loud, and I think he feels comfortable here. I think he said this is one of the few jobs that he would have left Georgia for. He talked about his run as the interim coach, so they built him a statue. It's a bobblehead on his desk. I think he feels comfortable. Tennessee feels comfortable, and I think the biggest thing is he talked about he brought a file over on Kirby Smart, on Jeremy Pruitt, and I'm sure all the other defensive coaches in the SEC. And even though I think Tyson Helton's a good play caller, good offensive mind, you don't have that, and you don't have that. I think that's a real value in that. And so when you've got that experience, a decade in the SEC, you just can't replace that. I think he's going to be really valuable this fall.
I also wonder how valuable he has been to Jeremy Pruitt already, because in terms of you sitting there self-scouting, you've got a guy who worked on another staff that scouted against you. So it's not a self-scout. It's a here's what we thought of you, and here's what we did to you.
Yeah, Pruitt on Chaney and vice versa. I think there's great benefit there.
Absolutely. All right. You guys will be back shortly. Next segment, we're going to talk about the 2019-2020 roster for Tennessee. 3 assistant coaches. Will they all be back? What about they're going to get grad transfers in? Who'll be the starters? What if Bohn and Wentz? That's all next. Come on back on the Sports Source.